I arrived late to the Hawthorne building. I was drained from a full week of lifting boxes and the 7-hour drive that brought me there. The lobby greeted me with a stale, humming fluorescent light that flickered just enough to irritate my eyes. The marble floor smelled faintly of bleach, like someone had tried too hard to hide an older odor beneath it. At the reception desk stood a woman whose smile was fake, like it felt rehearsed. She slid a heavy, old-fashioned brass key toward me. Not a card, not a fob, but a real metal key that looked like it belonged to another era. "Welcome to the Hawthorne, Mr. Alex," she chirped. Then she told me my room, apartment 311. Then her tone shifted, just slightly. "There's one small but very important request." I was half turned to leave, but stopped. "What kind of request?" I asked. "On your floor," she said, still smiling. "You'll notice a door without a number. It does not concern you. Please do not disturb it in under any circumstances. We prefer that door to simply be." I walked away, brushing it off as some eccentric rule for an old building. I spent the evening hauling my belongings up the narrow hallway, assembling my cheap furniture, and finally collapsing onto an inflatable mattress. As the sirens outside faded into the night, my thoughts drifted back to the receptionist's warning. A door with no number. Curiosity pushed through my exhaustion. I got up and stepped into the dim hallway, where weak sconces cast long, distorted shadows across peeling wallpaper. I counted the apartments: 309, 310, 311, and then the blank one. It looked normal at first glance. Same paint, same height, same handle, but it felt wrong. The space where a brass number should have been was completely smooth, like someone had scraped it off and repainted the area too carefully. I touched the doorknob and I found it was locked. I crouched, breath fogging against the cold metal. I stared into the keyhole. The keyhole was old, wide enough to see through if I leaned close. Just a peek, I told myself. At first, the room inside was pure darkness, but after a few seconds, a faint light revealed the interior. An enormous, empty apartment. No furniture, no boxes, no curtains. Only dust slowly drifting through the air like falling ash. I scanned the room until through the keyhole. My eyes settled on a shape in the far corner. I saw a woman. She stood perfectly still with her back to facing me, forehead pressed to the wall. Her hair was impossibly long, black as ink, spilling down to her knees. Her skin was so pale it seemed to glow. I jerked back, heart pounding. I felt like I had witnessed something intimate, something forbidden. Embarrassed and unsettled, I hurried back inside my apartment and forced myself to forget it. But by noon the next day, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Why had she been standing like that? Was she hurt? Why didn't she respond? Eventually, curiosity snapped whatever restraint I had left. I returned to the unmarked door and knelt immediately, pressing my eye to the keyhole once again. This time I saw only red, a harsh, overwhelming red that filled the entire view. It wasn't a wall. It wasn't an object. It was too close, too vivid, like something was directly on the other side of the keyhole. I stumbled back in alarm. Shame washed over me. She must have noticed me yesterday, and decided to block the keyhole with something red. A warning, a sign to stop looking. I decided I needed answers. I went downstairs. The receptionist greeted me. Her smile was dimmer now, replaced by something tired and resigned. "You looked through the keyhole, didn't you?" she asked without waiting. I swallowed. Yes, the first time I saw a pale woman standing in the corner. Today, it was just red. The woman exhaled slowly. That apartment was sealed 40 years ago. A young couple lived there. The husband was jealous, controlling, and finally violent. He killed his wife. She leaned forward, her voice dropping. They weren't like us. The wife had white skin and very long black hair. The husband, his eyes were red. I tensed. His mouth went dry. "When you looked the first time," she said, "you saw her standing in the corner, facing the wall." She paused, letting the weight settle. "And when you looked again and saw only red." Her smile returned, wide and unnatural. "That was him, standing at the door, looking back at you." I didn't return to apartment 311. I packed overnight and left the Hawthorne building before dawn, leaving the brass key behind. But sometimes, when I tries to sleep, I still sees two colors. The ghostly white of her skin, and the burning red that stared through the keyhole straight into me. I'm scared if he is haunting me because I peeked through the keyhole.